Blog Talk Radio. The following broadcast is brought to you by the iGolf Sports Network. The Women of Golf show is sponsored by the iGolf Sports Network and Golf Tips magazine. Here's more about our sponsors. iGolf Sports is a live stream broadcast and media production company providing quality programming designed to attract the golfing enthusiast. And Golf Tips, the game's most in-depth instruction magazine, including reviews on the latest equipment, tips from top teaching professionals, all designed to help you improve from tee to green. Good morning. Welcome to the Women of Golf, the #1 women's golf show around the world, with hosts Ted Odorico and Cindy Miller. Join them as they interview some of the best players from the Metraux, LPGA, and Legends Tour, and so many others, helping to elevate women's golf. So without further ado, here are your hosts, Ted and Cindy.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf. I, of course, am Ted Odorico, and right alongside is my partner in crime, if you will, and good friend, LPGA professional Cindy Miller. Welcome back, Cindy.
Well, thank you, darling. How are you?
I'm doing very well. So you were off raising some funds. Tell us a little bit about that before we start.
Well, my son Jamie is on the board of Children's Hospital in Buffalo, New York, and I don't know if you know, but Josh Allen donated like $400,000 to Children's Hospital last year. So his number is 17 for the Buffalo Bills. And the hospital thought, wouldn't it be cool if we played 117 holes? So he said, Mother, you need to help me do this. And I said, okay. So he had a very low goal. He wanted to raise $7,500. I go, why don't you raise $11,117? He's like, oh, that's a good idea. So he ended up raising over $15,500. And I thought I was going to play at first, but then they wanted me to caddy. So I caddied for a group that paid to play with Jamie, because Jamie's better than I am, even though I'm more fun. And so I got to caddy for a couple of guys that are CEOs of major companies. And Jamie made 8 birdies and an eagle in that 18 holes. I'm like, thank you very much. And then I got to play 18 holes at the end, his last 18 holes of the day. So it was a lot of fun.
Wow.
And they raised $132,000 for the hospital. So there you go.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Congratulations to everybody that participated. It's always nice to hear stuff like that, and that's one of the things I love about this game is they do so many great things like this to give back within their communities. And so kudos to the Miller family for stepping up and raising some well-deserved dollars for a worthy cause. You guys did great. And I just wish you had played all 117 holes. I think that would have been great.
Right?
You might not have made it.
Well,
you may not have made it this week, but what the heck, right?
Yeah, they walked 68,000 steps in 35 miles, kind of a long way. And I was riding in the car caddying, and I still did 18,000 steps. So there you go. Let's burn some calories, go have some ice cream.
That's right. All right, we got a great show. Yeah, exactly. We got a great show for everybody. We're going to start off. We're going to welcome here in just a second or two our latest winner off the Metraux Tour. She just won this past weekend's Island Resort Championship, her first win. And then a little bit later on, you and I are going to drop the 90-day challenge in the No BS zone the second half of the show. So let me introduce our very special guest to start things up. Her name is Morgane Metraux. She is a native of Switzerland, and she attended Florida State University, where she had a career, one of the third lowest score averages of 73.18 in the school's history. She also captured 3 collegiate victories and is one of only 4 Seminoles to ever record 3 or more career wins. She also started her professional and Metraux Tour debut in 2018 at the Four Winds Invitational. She made 11 cuts and 13 starts in a rookie season in 2018. And then on 2020, which, of course, last year, she made 6 cuts and 8 starts on the ladies' European Tour in 2020 with a season best 10th at the inaugural Saudi Ladies International. So let's congratulate and welcome our winner, Cindy, of the Island Resort Championship, Morgane Metraux.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Well, thank you for being our guest. Holy cow, good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. Let me just start off real quick before we get into just a little side note. And I was doing a little research before we came on, and Morgane has a sister, Kim, who also plays golf as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about her and you growing up, and does she also play professional?
Yes, so she also plays professional. Right now she's playing on the Ladies European Tour. So she's mostly back in Europe. But yeah, we grew up. We started playing exactly at the same time. I was 10 and she was 12, so she's 2 years older than me. She's actually a lefty, so there's the biggest difference between the two of us. And yeah, it's been fun. We've always played together, supported each other, and it's great to share our passion with somebody this close to us. And yeah, we even went to college together.
You did?
Wow. Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, they roomed together.
Yeah, so we actually were there all 4 years together in the team, playing together. So it was a lot of fun.
Let me ask you a question, because had you been in the United States before you went to college for any length of time?
I had come one time for a holiday, but other than that, only the visits. So not really. I hadn't really experienced the country before coming to live here.
So I think that probably was helpful to have a sister, that could speak the same language and know how you feel, like your best friend being with you at all times. Yes?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Especially at the beginning, the first year or so. It was great to have some part of the family with me at all time. And, yeah, living together, we had our little home away from home. So it was a little bit of comfort there in not having everything new around me.
Now, did she come 2 years before you?
No, actually, so we only had 1 year difference in school, and she decided to have a gap year before college, so we could actually go together.
What a great idea.
What a nice big sister.
I know.
Yeah, that's unusual.
That's awesome.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Well, and the cool thing, I'm assuming, obviously, since you mentioned that she's a lefty, you're a righty, so you guys are basically a mirror image of one another, right? I mean, you could practice together and actually work on your swings together, facing one another, and you're basically a mirror opposite of one another. So I think that would be kind of cool for practice sessions too, because you can kind of keep an eye on one another and learn from one another, without having to turn around or what have you. So I think that'd be pretty cool. So let's talk about your win. This was your first Metraux win at the Island Resort Championship. How did you feel coming into this event? How was your game overall? And what was your thought process coming into this game, into this tournament?
Yeah, I was really confident for that week. My game was in a great place. The last event we had played, I finished tied for 5th. My long game had been extremely good. I had lacked a little bit on my putting. So we had a week off between that event and going up to the Island Resort Championship. So that week I really spent working a lot on my putting and my stroke, my technique, etc. And so, yeah, I felt really confident, really good about my game and my chances for that week.
Very good. Now, you also mentioned here, I was reading some of the notes, that, and I'm assuming this is obviously referring to the final round, that the first couple holes you were a little bit nervous because you weren't quite playing your best game like you were the last couple of days. Explain what sort of changed, because you came in pretty strong, and then all of a sudden it seems that you were a little bit off your game. What happened?
Yeah, so the first couple of holes, I knew I was 3 off the lead, and that's kind of what I focused on. I was kind of comparing myself a little bit to the other girls I was playing with in terms of score, and instead of just playing my game and trying to shoot the lowest score possible. And I actually had to make a bogey all week, the first 2 rounds. And so one of my goals for the third day was to still not make a bogey, and that would be a first for me, not making a single bogey in a tournament. And then on 7, the par 3, I actually ended up bogeying that hole. So that kind of reset my mind, trying to think, okay, I need to stop thinking score and comparing my score to the other girls. And that's when I thought I need to just play my own game, and that's how it's worked the last 2 days. So why not do it again? And that's kind of what I focused on for the rest of the day.
Yeah, I gotta hate those bogeys when they creep into a round, but sometimes they can work as a catapult, if you will, to launch you into playing even better. And it sounds like it worked for you. Let me ask you. I want to go back real quickly to you and your sister for just a second, and then Cindy, I'll pass it back to you. You obviously both grew up playing a lot together. What did you learn from one another in playing the game? What did she teach you, if anything, and what did you teach her that's helped you at this point in your career? What do you recall?
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's just always keeping it fun. We always have little competitions between the two of us. We always, when we practice together, kind of, have little contests and try to push each other forward, but just always in a fun manner. And I think that's the biggest thing for us, is just really enjoying the game for what it is. It's a game, right? And keeping it fun.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. I think having a positive attitude like that is going to serve you very well, both of you. Cindy, go ahead.
What's the best part of your game?
It's probably putting. That's always been a strong part of my game.
Wow. No one has ever said that. That's awesome.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, everybody said, my ball striking, my driver, I hit it far. Good for you, because putting can save you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
When I played on tour, I didn't hit it that good, but, I could get it up and down from about anywhere, which is great. What do you love about playing the tour?
There's different things. Obviously, competing every week and doing this for a job is extremely exciting, and I feel very lucky to be playing for a living. But then also visiting so many places, traveling. I was lucky enough to travel around the whole world pretty much. Places like Australia, Japan, I would have never gone if it wasn't for golf. So, yeah, experience other cultures and just seeing the whole world is extremely exciting for me.
Very interesting. Cindy, have you got another one, or do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, I said, and what do you do for fun? Sorry.
I actually grew up playing the piano a lot. That was kind of my thing before golf came into the picture. So when I have a chance, when I'm home, I like to play the piano a bunch. And then playing other sports, and I'm a little bit of a couch potato sometimes when I'm home, when I'm not on the road. So I I try to do it on weeks off, not be too active, just to recharge the batteries. But during the off season, I'll play a lot of other sports, and in the winter I'll go ski and do things like that.
Awesome. Sometimes it's good just to get away and
exactly.
go stupid for a little bit. Ted, go ahead.
So more, I'm not even going to respond to that one. So Morgane, let me ask you. You obviously earned an exemption into the Evian Championship, which is next month, which is the fourth major in the LPGA Tour this year. And there's a quote here that says the Evian Championship is my little girl dream. Obviously, you grew up across the lake from it, and that's your sort of first event you ever went to, and it was sort of a big deal for you. And as you call it, that was the sort of the cherry on top. What is it about now? That was the first event. What was it that really impressed you when you were at that event?
I think it was just the whole. So I was relatively young, and I think it was the whole experience of seeing the best in the world and just seeing greatness around me. Seeing all the grandstands, the fans, and it was just it's a whole, it's an atmosphere, and I mean, I was too young to really appreciate the level of golf that was being played, but just seeing the golf stars out there and being inspired by them was really what struck me.
Who did you, from a golf standpoint, who did you, I don't want to say admire, but who impressed you and sort of helped inspire in a way to you doing what you're doing now? Who out on tour at that time when you were growing up did you see that really sort of created that spark for you?
Yeah, I've always been a massive fan of Rory McIlroy. I love the way he plays, and I like to be focusing on technique a lot because I like my whole game, but my swing especially, to be technically sound. And I feel like my opinion is that his swing is technically almost perfect, and it just looks like a swing that I would love to have. So yeah, I've just always admired him and love the way he goes around with golf.
And it doesn't hurt that he has pretty great hair too. So, I mean, he's a nice looking young man. So I think that's some incentive too. I'm saying that out of jealousy because I wish I had hair like his. But that's great. It is what it is. So what was the turning point for you? I mean, you obviously went to the Evian Championship, as you said, when you were a little bit younger, and it really impressed you. What was the point? What was the defining point that you said, to your parents and maybe, to your sister and whatnot, said that, this is something that I want to do? Was it that moment at that championship that kind of said to me, that's what I want to do? Or was there a later point? What was the defining moment for you?
Yeah, at the time, it's exactly what happened. I remember being there with my club teacher at the time when I had just started playing, really, and I was telling her, this is what I want to be here one day, and I remember actually this place exactly, and I have this picture of this moment in my head, always have done since. And I mean, I had just started playing golf, so saying that at the time didn't feel real because obviously I wasn't very good. But I've always had this image of this moment where I realized this is something I would want to pursue.
Well, I think it's always, it's good to sort of look back and reflect at that moment because that sort of sets the tone, if you will, for what happens moving forward. What do you most want? Obviously, you want to win tournaments, and that's. But what's your long-term goal with golf? Is this something that you want play until the point you can't, or have you thought about maybe at some point a little bit later on in your career, maybe getting into the teaching side as well and doing something to kind of give back? What are your long-term goals, or do you have any?
So a little bit shorter term, obviously this year, my goal is to make that top 10 and get my crown on the LPGA. And then a little bit longer term, as a player, what you want to do is win majors, so that's a big one on my list. I love team events as well, so being in a Solheim Cup is definitely something I dream about and something that I hope I can make happen one day. I haven't put myself a limit in terms of years. I know I want to, have a family later on. I don't know when exactly. So I haven't quite thought that far yet. I just, one step at a time.
Well, that's good. It's always good to do that. You want to always look down the road. And I can imagine probably the ultimate payback or payout for you would be your sister and you being on a Solheim Cup team. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
That would be amazing. We actually have played a lot of team events together for Switzerland. So we actually have a little bit of experience of playing match play together in different formats. So it would be amazing. Definitely, I think that would be a massive highlight for our careers and our life in general.
I think that would be as well. Cindy, go ahead.
Dislike about playing for a living? What's the hardest part? Let's put it this way, not dislike. What's the hardest part about living on the road every week?
Yeah, so I think there's two things. One is being away from home, away from my family, away from the people I love the most, and just even living in another country. And then the other thing is just the traveling part. I love actually being in other places, but the packing, the early wake-up calls to get on planes, and I'm not complaining because it goes with it, and I love what I do. But those two things are definitely the two hardest things.
Got it. And when will you see your sister again?
I wasn't planning on going home this early, but going to the Evian, made me change my flight yesterday to go back. So I'll definitely see her there while going back to go play in the event.
Now, will she caddy for you, or will you have a professional caddy?
No, I think I will have a professional caddy. She has caddied for me before, and I have caddied for her. But I don't think now we both have some caddies that we know and that we've worked with. So I think just having her support is going to be great.
Got it. Cool. Ted?
I think that's fantastic, and I think that she'll certainly be cheering you on, to say the least, in that event. And I think it's, it's kind of interesting to come full circle like that, because that's kind of where you began at that event, and now, as you said, you are kind of putting a cherry on top, and now having a chance to play in that very same event that kind of ignited that spark in you. So I think that's fantastic. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, if I've read the schedule correctly, Symetra is off this week. Is that correct? And then they're back next week at the Prasco. Are you playing in the Prasco, or are you going to be gone?
No, I'm actually playing in it, yes. So I'm home this week in Orlando, and I'll be traveling to Cincinnati next week.
So what are you going to do this week when you're home? I mean, let me ask you the obvious question. So you just came off of a win. This is your first win on Symetra. So obviously you're very, very excited. How are you going to celebrate? Have you done anything yet, or are you going to wait a little bit longer and maybe wait and get back with your family and friends and things to sort of throw one down, as it were? What are you going to do to celebrate this win?
Yeah, I think the biggest celebration is going to be when I go back home and I get to share it with my family. So that's definitely when I will properly celebrate it.
are you going to treat yourself to something, just a little something special, just for you in memorial of this win?
I was thinking about it. I probably will. I don't know what yet, but I think I will. Just a little something to mark the occasion.
Yeah. I think that would
think
be.
You should.
I think that would. I do, and we'll help you pick it out if you want. No, I think
Thank you.
I think that's fantastic. Well, Morgane, congratulations again. I think it's awesome for multiple reasons. It's always nice to put that first win sort of under your belt, and it relieves a lot of pressure. I mean, obviously you know deep down that you can do it, but this sort of just puts an exclamation point on and say, I know I can do it. But it's also exciting that you have a sister who also plays, and you can kind of feed off of one another's experiences and enjoyment and fulfillment of the game. And it's kind of nice to have that special person in your life that can share and understand one another exactly what you go through each week, because that's not always easy for people that don't play golf. They don't really, they say, oh, it's just, you're out there and boy, what a life and all that. But they don't realize that there's a lot of, in addition to the ups, as Cindy pointed out, there's some downs too sometimes. And it's nice to have somebody close like that can really relate and understand what you go through and vice versa. So I think that's awesome that you two have grown up together, enjoying this great game together. And I think both of you will have a very successful career moving forward. And congratulations again.
Well, thank you so much. And thanks for having me this morning.
Congrats.
All
Mike.
right.
Keep going. Good luck.
Thank you. Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Thanks, Morgane. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Morgane Metraux, what a nice young lady, don't you think? I mean, just it always impresses me, when we talk to these young girls, just how together, they really are. And, the fact that they're just very humble too. You know what I mean? Like, it just, I don't know how to explain it, but I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. Is they're very, very humble. They're out there. They know they've got to do whatever they got to do to get done. But there doesn't never seem to be like a tone of arrogance about them. They're just happy to be there, excited to be doing something that they really enjoy. And I like the fact that she said that, it's only a game and she wants to have fun doing it. And I think that's key. Don't you agree?
I do agree. I think they all understand how difficult it is to make a living out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they all understand that there has to be some magic when it comes to winning. The breaks that you get that are bad don't happen when you win. It's kind of like it's supposed to be. And you have to take the good with the bad, because there's so much more bad than there is good. And I think they know that. And that's why it's a long-term effort. She's not thinking, oh, I'm going to get married next year. No, I'm doing this. I want to play in major championships. I want to be on the Solheim Cup team. The family's coming after 30.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And right, exactly. And that's, that's smart, because she's focusing on what she needs to do now. Obviously, that's something that she would love to have, as she pointed out, but it's not constantly weighing in the back of her mind. She's saying, okay, I'm going to set this aside for now. I'm going to do what I need to do here. I'm going to focus on the things I need to focus on. And when that time comes, then that'll be, more of a priority in my life, to be able to settle down and have a family. But right now, I'm okay with that not being part of my life, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now, so I'm going to savor every moment. Something that really stuck out to me, and I don't know if you see this or not, but, we talk about sometimes the difficult times. And one of the things that, she emphasized on was the fact that she wanted to continue that bogey-free, feeling, if you will. And obviously we know that doesn't always happen. But this tells me a lot about her character, because when she did on that hole number 7, as she said, had that bogey, she didn't let it change. I mean, she could have very easily, changed her mindset. And instead she said, no, it's okay. you know what, I had this, but I'm going to keep sticking with what I need to do. And she won it, obviously ultimately ended up winning the tournament. So she didn't let that, and that's important. I mean, as you said a moment ago, you know, you're going to have a lot more downs than you do ups, but it's those that recognize and learn from those particular moments that are able to move on and continue to play. Because, I mean, we've talked to a few here where they've really kind of gotten down, and I know it's only one bogey, but, you know, they kind of get down in the dumps. It starts with one little situation, and then it just escalates, and the next thing you know, they're talking about dropping out of the tour and not playing anymore and that sort of thing. And I think that she really has understood the fact that it is just a game. And she knows that she's going to have some bad moments, but she's got enough inner strength to say, you know what, on to the next hole, on to the next shot, what have you. I'm not going to let this one bad hole define who I am this tournament. And I think it served her very well. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
Perfect. All right, we're going to move on to the No BS zone here in just a moment, but here's a quick message from Golf Tips Magazine.
The following ad is sponsored by Golf Tips Magazine.
Are you tired of being short off the tee? And what about those 3 putts? Forget about it. It's time you got serious about your game. Golf Tips, the most in-depth magazine in the industry. For over 30 years, Golf Tips has delivered expert content such as the latest golf instruction from America's top pros, simple-to-follow practice and game improvement drills, fitness and mental game tips, equipment, training aids, accessory and apparel reviews, golf destinations and travel tips for every budget, and so much more. Don't miss a single issue. Go to golftipsmag.com and subscribe today.
All right. We're going to talk about Cindy today, and I'm going to lay out the steps here in just a few moments. I've done this in the past with a number of different students, and I don't know, you may have done something similar, but this is a 90-day challenge, and I figured since we're coming into the summer now, you know, everywhere pretty much is opened up, everybody's out playing golf, I thought this would be something great to sort of introduce to the listeners of the show for them to try. So I'm going to lay this out, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion. So I call this the 90-day challenge, and I truly believe, and I think you would probably agree, that this is going to help the average golfer really dial in their short game. And there's 3 steps to this, and I think if you do that, you're going to start to see your handicap come down. And it also makes it a little bit more fun practice because, you know, here's some of the challenges that we have. Is it's very difficult to sort of organize yourself in practice. So what I would suggest you do is jot down these steps and create yourself a little sheet or a chart, if you will, that you can take with you to the course. Or if you sometimes there's some ways that you can do it on your phone as well. You can record this information. But truly, I think if you do this, it'll really help. So step 1 is what I call 20. As I said, there's 3 steps. So what I really recommend everybody doing is sort of pacing off. Go to your obviously your local course or driving range. It has a practice green, and pace off 20 feet on the practice green. So you're going to obviously putt in this particular case, and you can use multiple directions to kind of mix things up depending on how the green's laid out. And what I'm suggesting is in the step 1 is hit 20 to 30 20-foot lag putts, keeping the ball within a 3-foot circle around whatever pin that you've checked. That's going to help with your lag putting. It's going to help you with distance and speed control. Then I want you to pace off 20 feet from that pin, obviously not on the green, but moving off the green, and hit 20 to 30 chip shots. And then ultimately do the same thing, pace off 20 yards from the green and hit 20 to 30-yard pitch shots. Now, obviously, if you're in a situation where there's multiple people, you're going to have to be careful of this. So you want to try to go at a time when it's not as busy, so that you're not going to be interfering with other people. And if you can't do it on a green, the pitching part, then, you can always find a spot maybe at the end of the range and just sort of visually draw out 20 yards, if you will, and kind of pitch it out to that spot. So pick a spot out in the range, if you will, that's roughly that distance. And then step 2 is 40. do the same thing, same 3 steps within that is 40 feet on the practice green, practice 40-foot lag putts, again within that 3-foot circle. Do the same thing 40 feet from the pin, hit 40-foot chip shots, and so on with the pitch shots as well. And then, pardon me, the last one is 60. Again, pacing off 60 for lag putts, 60 for chip shots, and 60 for pitch shots. And if you do that, and the idea is how you do this is 1 hour a week per month for each step. So you go every week for 1 hour, and you do that and repeat the weekly steps for 3 months. Use the last week of each month to put what you've been practicing to work in your game. And the key is only to practice each step during the hour. So you don't want to practice all 3 in 1 hour. Whatever week you're on for that first time, you practice step 1, and so on and so forth. Don't mix them all together. And if you do that, what it's going to do is build a consistency over that 90-day period. And I guarantee it, if you've done that, I've done that with a number of clients over the years. And Cindy, I want to get your thoughts on this, because I think this would be an interesting challenge maybe with some of your junior students to try something. And you may do something similar to this. I want to get your thoughts on this. What you think, would there be anything that maybe you would change in this? I've found it to be very, very successful, and I've actually done it myself over the years, and I'm actually going to do it again here in short order, because I'm getting ready to head up to Michigan in about a month and a half's time, and I'm thinking of putting this together for myself just to kind of tune up my game, if you will. What are your thoughts?
I think it's great. I think it's I don't understand the second 20-footer. Hit 20 feet. Yeah, so I'm reading it right now, which is helpful because it's better to see it for me. Lag putts.
Right.
Get your 20-foot putt, 20 to 30, 20 feet, from 20 feet, hit 20 putts within 3 feet. That's perfect.
Right.
But pace off 20 feet from the pin, that's what you just worked. So I think the second one is just a little confusing. I would just say, second part is just 20 feet from the hole, or 20 yards from the hole, and then chip it up and try to chip them within 3 feet. But that's – go ahead.
Yeah, the idea is from the pin is again, you want to go in a direction, obviously – you want to pick a pin and get off of the green for your chip shots. Yeah, I needed to probably reword that a little bit differently, because it is. I can understand why it'd be confusing when you first look at it. But that's the idea: is you want to work with that distance. So when you're on the green, obviously you're gonna pace off 20 feet and do 20-foot lag putts, 40-foot, so on and so forth. The second step, what you want to do is you want to come off the green, and you want to be in a situation where you might be in the first cut around the green, in the collar, if you will. That may be the situation, and you want to now chip the ball that same distance. So instead of putting it now, you want to put yourself in a position that you're going to have to use a chip shot. And the idea is, again, those different distances you're going to be faced with out in the golf course. And then, of course, the last one step in each category is now you're going to pitch it. You're going to be faced sometimes. A lot of times, Cindy, people miss the green, and they might be 20 yards one way or the other, back, front, side, whatever, and now they're faced with a 20-yard pitch shot. And people do not practice that kind of thing, and the same thing with the 40 and the 60. 60 might be a little bit more common for some, but 20 and 40 for sure, a lot of people don't practice that. Very few do anyways, at least amateurs that I've come across. So the idea is, if you organize yourself in a way through these steps, essentially what you're going to do is you're going to create a pattern for practice, because people go out there, and Cindy, I know you've seen this, if they're not with their instructor, what they often do is they just kind of go, well, I'll hit a few chip shots, I'll hit a few of this, that, and there's no organization. So really what this 90-day challenge is a way of organizing each session into a specific category. So that way it forces you to work on one specific thing, not sitting there doing 1,000 different things and not really getting the benefit of a good, solid practice. So that's why doing each of those steps each week within the step allows you to work on a specific area for that time frame. Does that help to clarify it?
Yes, and an absolutely awesome idea.
Well, I found, like I said, what I found with it, and I can't emphasize this enough, and I see this. I was actually just, this past weekend I didn't make it up, but I was busy doing some other things. But the last couple of weekends, and as well as I do, Cindy, when you're busy teaching and doing other things, we don't always get enough time in our own game. So when you do, when you've got a few moments that you can slip away and either play or work on your game, you do that. So the last couple of weekends, not this one, but 2 weekends before, I've headed up to a local course and, just kind of, piddling around with my own game a little bit. And I always like to observe. I always look around the range, and I don't interfere, unless somebody comes and specifically asks me. I don't interfere. I don't, impose myself on anybody. But I'll watch people, and it's amazing. I'll see people that are getting ready to go out and play, and they're just, they'll come up and tap 2 or 3 putts, and then they might go out and hit a couple of shots. They don't do anything with a sense of purpose. And I'll see other people that will spend an hour up on the range and really do nothing. They'll hit a bunch of balls. They might go over the putting surface and do a few putts, but there's no organization to it. So one of the criticisms that people have is to say, well, how do I get better? Well, if you watch most tour professionals, they do something, again, they may have a different formula that they're using, but this is what a lot of them do is they put together a practice regime, something that's going to help them over a period of time. And obviously they've got much more time to adhere to it than what we would, but or the average amateur would. But the idea is to create a formula that you can go out and practice, and that, okay, when I go this week, this is what I'm going to be working on. When I go next week, this is what I'm going to be working on. And spending that full hour rather than just 2 or 3 minutes here and there or 5 minutes is going to actually really help you dial in on that. And again, over 90 days, I guarantee it, because I've seen the results with many students, if you do it properly, you are going to see results. You're going to start scoring better because this is the area of the game that most people lack in. Your thoughts?
Absolutely the truth. End of story. Because everybody can hit the ball down the fairway, but the point is, can you get that shot close to the green? And as Morgane said today, the best part of her game is putting. And I looked at her stats, and she hits an awful lot of greens too. Her driver isn't a straight, but she hits an awful lot of greens. Well, if you hit a lot of greens and you putt well, you're scoring well.
Yep.
So, you need to practice this. We all do. Busted.
Well, and it goes to something that you said, in the closing moments with her, and that is when you were out on tour, one of the things that was a real strength in your game was getting those ups and downs and recovery shots. You were able to recover when you didn't hit the ball maybe as well as you'd like. And see, this falls into that category as well because, again, most people, not everybody, but the majority of people that have been out and hit a golf ball a few times, they can hit it whether it's, 100 yards, 150 yards, what have you. They can pretty much hit, for the most part, relatively straight. And so they can hit the ball. That's not the issue. But when it gets around the green or approaching the green or what have you, that's where a lot of amateurs really fall short, is that they don't have that sort of finesse, if you will, around the green, and it's because they don't practice it, and they don't know how to practice. So I thought, you know what? So what I'm proposing to the listeners out there, if you're really struggling, particularly with your short game, this 90-day challenge, I think, is a really good way, certainly one of the ways, anyways, that I've had some success with students and as well as with myself in practicing. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to doctor it up a little bit, and I'm going to actually probably post it on social media so you can actually see what it looks like, and then you can just sort of print it off or copy it off. Because I know, as you said, Cindy, it's a little bit different. Sometimes you have to see everything in front of you. But I think this is a great way, and that's why I want to do it, is we're coming into the summer months. Now is the time to take advantage. And you can do this in between. I mean, obviously you want to get out there and you want to play and put it in. And that's why, it talks about in the final week of each month, you want to really, from the previous 3 weeks, whatever step you're working on, you want to really, make sure, that you're working this into your game. So if you're somebody that's really been struggling with those 20-foot putts or 20-foot chip shots, when they're faced with that, you're going to be more confident now because you're going to have had some practice at it and you're going to have specifically worked on that. And the same thing with the other ones as you come through. But the idea is over 90 days, if you consistently work on these steps in the manner that I've laid out here, you'll find you'll start to see a vast improvement. And then you just incorporate that, beyond the 90 days. When you get out in your practice sessions, yes, you got to hit some balls down the range and work on your long game too. But if you work on these areas of the short game, that's where people lose the majority of their strokes is, with that 60, 70 yards in and even in some cases 100 yards in, that's where they're losing most of the strokes, because most people can get to the green in 2 or 3, but then once they get around there, everything just sort of goes south. And I think that's what, people. Now, I wanted to ask you, Cindy, do you do something similar when you're working, especially with some of your junior golfers? What are some things do you kind of put them through maybe not exactly the same, but a similar challenge when you're working with them on a long-term scale? Do you do anything similar to this?
And here's the bottom line. The catch is that you absolutely have to work on your short game. I mean, you have to learn how to get it up and down. If you don't, you're just wasting your time, if you will. So you absolutely have to work on this, and you have to make it fun, in my opinion, because nobody wants to stand there and be bored all day. So I think that this is almost making a game out of it, which is great, if you will. So I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and as I mentioned in the first step, and you can do this with all of them, really. I mean, obviously you have to be, cognizant of people around you and things like that. But as I said, if your practice green is really busy all the time, certainly the putting is not an issue, but and even the chipping, but pitching might be a little bit more, especially if you're not a very good pitcher to begin with. So that's something, that part, the pitching, you can actually just sort of visually cue yourself out in the range and just kind of gauge approximately. I mean, obviously there's markers. A lot of ranges have a very short flag, so you can kind of use that and line yourself up and just sort of, maybe halfway to it might be 40, a third of the way might be, 20 yards, that sort of thing. So you can kind of just approximately gauge as best you can. If you've got a rangefinder, that's even better. There's a lot of great rangefinders out there, and you can kind of measure things out that way. But the idea is you want to be practicing this. And you're right, you can make a game out of it. And you can use, particularly with the putting and so forth, you can use multiple directions to kind of mix things up. So it's not just hitting the same putt 20 to 30 times. You're trying different ways. So you might want to split it up. Let's say if you're going to hit 30 20-foot lag putts, you can split it into 10 and hit 10 going uphill, 10 coming downhill, and find 10, maybe this time has a left to right break or a right to left break. So you can practice that same distance under a different variety of circumstances, and it gives you an idea. Because, again, I see people all the time. They get out and they get 3 feet from a pin on a practice green, and they just tap a few of them in, and the next thing you know, they're going out in the round, and they get out there, and nothing's going right because they haven't really practiced anything. So I would strongly suggest anyone listening to the show this morning, again, I'll put this up through social media, but do this 90-day challenge, and I promise you, if you do it the way it's been laid out here, I guarantee it, you will start to see a vast improvement in your short game. So on that note, if you have anything further, Cindy, otherwise I think we're good and we can wrap up.
I'm good, dear. I'm good.
Perfect. Well, we want to thank, once again, our very special guest, Morgane Metraux, for joining us this morning, and we want to wish her all the best in her future. And as mentioned earlier, there is not a Symetra Tour event this week, so we won't have a guest next week. So, or from the Symetra Tour, it won't be until the following week. But we'll have another great guest on the second half, and we'll come up with another interesting topic. But we want to thank you for joining us this morning on the Women of Golf, and much continued success. And congratulations again, Cindy, on you and Jamie and the rest doing a great job in raising money for a very worthwhile cause. You guys know how to do it right at the Miller House. Yeah, I think that's fantastic.
Thank you.
I know that
cool.
that the hospital is very. Yeah, I think it's great. Very excited. I watched some of the posts that you guys put up through through that time, and I know it's something that you guys enjoy doing and keep doing every year. So congratulations on a job well done, and I think that's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, you got to give back.
Yep, exactly. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week on the Women of Golf. We'll see you next week. God bless, and thank you again for joining us on the Women of Golf show. Thanks, Cindy.
Thanks, Ted.
Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed listening to this week's Women of Golf show. Ted and Cindy wish to thank this week's special guests. Remember to join them every Tuesday from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern here on the iGolf Sports Network or on any of these social media platforms: iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, CastBox, TalkStream Live, and of course Spotify. To get updates on the show, you can follow the Women of Golf Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Women of Golf. This has been a production of the iGolf Sports Network.